Hello, want to dock onto my other videos because there's so much to talk about that it's impossible to put this into just one video. So I'm probably gonna make 50 videos about this subject because it is so complex and so interwoven with everything else, and just so twisted. Everything's so twisted and so diffused and so obscured from everyone out there that it is impossible for people to recognize what is what, and to see things from above, and to recognize what they are doing and how they could be doing it better, to improve the whole thing, the whole structure, the whole network. But it's impossible to see through this, and I haven't seen through it for most of my life, so how can I expect other people to see through this? And other people particularly who are even more interwoven in all of this, and who have probably less education, and who have been beaten down more than I have. And there's a lot of people out there who have been beaten down psychologically and physically so badly that it's almost impossible to wind themselves out of this total chaos that comes out of this trauma that people create for themselves out of this trauma, and they don't know that they are creating it out of this terrible, convoluted pain and suffering, and avoidance of suffering. See, that's where the real problem comes in, when we're in this drive of avoiding the suffering, but what we're doing is we are trying to run away from the pain, from that what is, from that what happened, and from that what is still there engraved into our neuronal connections, into our memories, and that are being triggered they're triggered at any moment in time, and we don't even know when they're triggered. We're not even conscious of that, so we just do knee-jerk reactions all the time. Something triggers it, we don't even know about it. We just feel bad, uneasy. We run from it, and by running away and by resisting the uncomfortable, the uncomfort zones, we create more and more and more convolution, and more chaos, and more obscurity to that what really is going on. And it's very tragic, and it could be avoided. This whole thing of causing more and more resistance and chaos could be avoided. But how do people even recognize these things and discern these different states of minds and the act outs that they're doing, and what these act outs are actually causing? How can we see through this? So what I suggest, I'm writing a book also right now, and I am going to be elaborating all of this in my book as well, and I'm going to take a lot of time for this, and a lot of researching, a lot of meditating, a lot of contemplating. And so the first thing that comes to my mind if someone says to me, I am overwhelmed, I don't know where to start, the very first thing that I would suggest is, and I can't suggest anything to anyone because I am not allowed to by the law. They have infiltrated our rights to give someone else advice. But I can say that what I would do in that situation, it's just a ridiculous word twisting to because of this terrible medical industry infiltrating into our civil rights. So now we have to rephrase these things, and I have to say what I would do, in a situation like this if I'm completely overwhelmed. The first thing the first thing I do is I just sit down and do nothing and just meditate. And if it's difficult, if then it's way too difficult, if too much pain comes up, then we can focus on the tree in front of us. And if that's too difficult, then we can listen to a guided meditation. And if that's too difficult, then we can listen to the conversations by Jiddu Krishnamurti or the talks that he was giving. And that is very helpful. It has pulled me through a panic attack in 2012. It was major. That was the worst thing that has ever happened to me in my whole life, was that panic attack. People talk about panic attacks like it's just an experience, it's just nothing or whatever. But I tell you, a real panic attack is the worst thing you can possibly imagine. Nothing is worse. Really, nothing is worse. It's not even someone hurting you physically. But yeah, it's every bit as bad and worse than an actual traumatic situation. That's how bad a panic attack is. So, I'm not sitting here preaching something I don't know anything about. I'm sitting here looking back on my life and saying, boy, you know, some people some people are captains of ships, some people had experienced amazing, exciting, dramatic things in their lives. I'm the captain of my brain. Okay. I experienced the serve of my own brain without going anywhere. I didn't even need to. I mean, the rough surf, the octopuses coming at me, all of this happening in my own brain. I did not need to get up from the couch and walk out or go into a train or into a car or onto a yacht. I could just sit here and it would all happen inside of my brain. And then if I do go out, then my brain goes extra wild. My brain goes, no, don't do that, don't go anywhere. Yeah. So that's what I've been through my whole life. And so yeah, I can really say I've become an authority on trauma and therapy. I've done many therapies, including developing my own therapy processes. I'm still in the process of doing that because that's probably never going to end. So to file out to to form out just the right therapy program, that's really an art. I haven't seen anyone being able to do this. I have read so many books and have met so many people, and some of them really amazing people and who I very much admire, but none of them has managed to really figure out this perfect process. So yeah, none of them, including the Buddhists. So they have not either. There are some amazing people out there, and they are huge and helpful. But but the programs are not what I envision to be the perfect programs, because we need sleep. Sleep is like the foundation of our well-being. So we can't be woken up at night by some gong, or wake up in the middle of the night and do a vipassana meditation. No, no, no. That is not very very helpful. That sounds more like a little bit like brainwashing techniques. It's not meant that way, but that it can easily be something like this. And I think some people use this also, use sleep deprivation to brainwash people, because then people are more susceptible, when they didn't get enough sleep. So sleep is like it's the foundation of your health, and you can't be smoking or drinking or drugs or any of these things. No? All of this is that's just the foundation for getting well, and you can't be eating meat. Yeah? So meditation is like the first thing, and I can't say this to you. I say I can't say that because I'm not allowed to say this. So I can only say what I would do is, and what I have done is, I've quit the drugs, the alcohol, the cigarettes, the parties. I have quit the bad people. I have quit any kind of running around without head. I have quit all of this. I have gone into contemplation, a lot of sleeping, a lot of staying home, no more partying. I've become like a monk, like a nun. Yeah. I live in total celibacy now for how long? Uh, for like at least 7 years. I've been living in total celibacy and in total reclusion and inwardness and reflection on my life and cautiousness. You know, I don't I don't even want to get involved anymore with anyone. I just want to I just want to be safe, I just want to, and I know that's still, that's still an act out to withdraw from everyone. It's an act out. It's an act out of fear. And so I'm not saying that I have mastered my life or anything. This is just a phase. It's an important phase, though, a very important one, because I had to go into withdraw into complete contemplation with nature and the birds and the trees in front of me. Very important. Very, very important. I hope I can stay in this house for a long time. I love this house. If I ever move out of here, I will miss this house very, very, very deeply. And the blue god is buried there. So, yeah, it's going to be very difficult. I'm in a constant learning process, in a constant evolving process. And I can't recommend it, but I say that it, I wish it for the world to do the same. I wish. It's just a wish. It's in my wish box. So it's not pain-free or anything, but it is a heck of a lot feeling better than what I've done in the past. Oh my gosh. If I look back on my past, this running around from myself, away from myself, hanging out with other people, depending on other people to fulfill me, to give me something. Yeah, hanging out at parties sometimes way into the morning hours, always hoping maybe tonight I can take home this person who will make me feel whole. Yeah. This is that's an illusion. It's called Maya in Sanskrit. Maya is this big illusion that comes over us, and delusion. Yeah, someone else can fulfill me. Someone else can give me something. No, it's never gonna happen. Never. It's never gonna happen. You might have some great sexual experience, or you might have some fun experiences. But then once you start depending on that, you're going to be very disappointed because that other person is not some programmed thing. The other person is alive. She or he. They have their ups and downs. They have their feelings, emotions, their triggers, their very personal triggers. And if we want to make it through in a relationship with someone, we have to adapt to that other person. We either adapt or we're out. We adapt to their flow, and we, in form of patience, practice patience with that other person and say, I see you're not feeling good. What's going on? Can we talk about it? Flow together with it. Not go, oh, you are making my day bad. I better go out alone. Do what you want to do. That's not communication. That's not flowing together. So if we want to make it as a whole community in general, we need to care more about how the other person feels. I see this all the time. People are not in tune with someone else feels. When I see someone cry, it wouldn't matter who that is. It could be the dirtiest homeless person, and it has happened where, I have such OCD where I go over and I say, look, I can't see, I can't stand it. What's going on? You're suffering. Can I give you a hug? And they will be so grateful for that hug. I don't want to cry right now, but the tears are already coming up. This. And it is usually people who are very, very sensitive. Way too sensitive for this world, who end up in a gutter with some dirty backpack sitting there, waiting for a car to pick them up, and they don't even know where they're going. And they put themselves into a situation where no one will even look at them anymore, because a lot of times a lot of homeless people are crazy. It's the truth. And I don't blame people who will not look at them and wind up the car window. I don't blame them. I do it too, so often. But when I see someone cry, I feel terribly sorry. But the people who are not crying, they're even worse off. They're actually worse off. But then, that'll be, I just can't take it. It's too overwhelming for me, and I see it's overwhelming for other people too. So it's a terrible, terrible situation. It's a terrible situation. And there's some churches that are trying to help, but all they're doing is they're preaching their sermons onto those completely gullible homeless people. And these homeless people absorb that like a sponge. Then you meet the homeless person and he starts preaching that same sermon to you. Oh my gosh. A terrible thing. Terribly more unempowered even, coming out of that church more unempowered than they went in there, asking for someone to help them, really, to empower them, to make them feel more whole. They come out even more fragmented and more beaten down and more in more fear of their God, and have to repeat that what has been drilled into them. They only get food if they listen to those sermons. That's not love. That's not caring. So a completely whole new system has to evolve out of this chaos right now. Completely new thing has to come out of it. That what we have there, a church on every corner, and the ministry of Jesus, how can these people teach anyone anything decent anyway if they don't have that in their heads? If they have that old unempowerment program in their heads, how can they help someone to become empowered? It's impossible. So I'm not blaming any individual person. The system has gone sour. This entire system, school system, all these self-help systems and so on, suicide hotlines. Boy, those suicide hotlines. Non-judgmental suicide hotline. I go, right on. I'm going to call them up. I've called 5 or 6 times for the last 25 years or so. Yeah. And they have never helped. Believe it or not, they have never helped me. It was kind of like a negative incentive, sort of. It was like, same with the hospital, kind of like a negative, what's the word? Negative conditioning. That's what it was. It was like, this is really shitty. Okay, now I'm gonna straighten out just to get out of here. And then I saw, I straightened myself out just to get out of there, out of that conversation with that terrible fundamentalist on the phone, or I got out of that terrible hospital situation. Oh my gosh, where the nurses were bullying me. And I know why they were bullying me, because of my skin color. And but I'm not going to blame anyone particular. This is all burdened with trauma and pain from the past. All of this, with self-images over self-images over self-images, in order to knee-jerk oneself away from the pain. We step on someone else to get out of that exit door. So that's really what's happening. What I see, someone who is bolting out of the back door to get out of the fire because their house is burning inside of the brain. They're going to be stepping on a couple of people on their way out. They are not in the state where they can actually see that other person. But it becomes a serious problem when we go to a hospital because we're hoping maybe they can help me somehow. And they're the people, the staff, their houses are burning inside of their brains. Every one of them. And they have to step on someone else to get out of that door. And that is what's happening also in hospitals, in the psychiatric units, in churches, in self-help organizations, in therapy institutions, and so on and on and on and on. In prisons, real bad. That's real serious. It's like war, what I hear from people. That goes on in prisons. It's like a war zone of burning houses inside of people's brains. No one trusts anyone. It's just it's like a boiling soup of inflammation and thought inflammation. How do we fix this? How do we turn this around? Where do we start? We cannot dock onto the the existing things that offer themselves because they don't work. They cannot work. They cannot help. I see a lot of atheists on YouTube going back to Christianity. I'm not looking down on them. I'm not judging them. I see that there's a lot of people who have been drinking, you know. Then there's some famous people that I adore who have been in that same predicament. They try to get out. They try to get into the infinity, into the creative flow. But the pain is too big. The pain from the past, the burning houses in other people's brains are affecting them. They're hurting them. They're bullying. There's jealousy. Then they start to drink. Then they see this is not going anywhere. Where do they go for help? To a self-help group. And what is that self-help group made out of? What is the philosophy behind it? Christianity. And there is the same looped right back to where they started out. The same pain, the same from the parents, the same, maybe packaged a little bit differently now. Put a few hip words thrown into it to distract the person the client who goes there, to distract them from what it really is. They think, oh, this is better. No, this is not like it was before. Look at it closely. Look at it. Really look at it closely. And you will see it's the same old shit. The same stuff, the same unempowerment sermons, the same you are just an ant and you need to worship that man with the white beard and or he's going to punish you, he's going to send you to hell, dad is going to hit you just like he did when you were 3 years old. It's nothing new. It's not going anywhere. It's not moving forward. The way we move forward is if we become very observant of that what is going on right now. Very critical. Very critical. And you don't need a preacher or guru to become critical. Quite the opposite. You only become critical if you stand back, if you say to yourself, wait a minute, I'm going to sit down now under a tree or in my recliner chair, or I'm going to turn all the devices off. I'm going to turn particularly TV and radio, turn that off. No more Rush Limbaugh beating down the drums of unempowerment anymore. Beating it further and further into. No, cut that out. Who are those liberals? Who are those that you used to call tree huggers or, granola or hippies? Whatever the words you used, who are those people really? Or if you are from the other side, if you are the caring person who's beaten down, you sit down and you reflect on it and you say, who are those rednecks? Who are those people really? And if we come together or Muslims or anyone around the world, if they sit down and if they say, who are these people that I used to hate so much? Where are they coming from? What is their story? How did they evolve from toddler to 50 or 60 or 70 and hardened now and everything, and bitter and angry and rallying, and always shouting against someone else, always never taking responsibility for their own lives, always entitlement, always feeling beaten down, never taking a break from that. Who are those people? Maybe maybe we're all beaten down. Maybe we're all kind of made out of the same material. You know? Just the package in the end is different. We stand on different sides of the canyon. Between us is a canyon and a complete cliff, cleft. And how do we create a bridge? Yeah. How do we fuse this back together? I know how, through love, through a river of love going through that canyon. And then we can take a boat and we can paddle across on the river of love. But it takes courage, and it takes a lot of stopping what we're doing and just sitting and just meditating. That's what it takes. Stopping this process of judgmentalness just for a few moments per day. That's all that's necessary in the beginning, and then expand it out. And you will see immediately that the anger will subside, because you see that the other living being is just as much suffering as you are, just as much fear and terror and torment as you are, whatever their skin colors are, as ethnicities, uh, psychological background, economic background, educational background, religious background, belief systems, whatever, wherever they're coming from, geographic background, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're all living beings, just like the birds, the squirrels, the papa dogs, the giraffes, all of them, all of the living beings. They're living beings, made out of protein. Suffering, fear, hopes, needs, wishes, the wish to be loved. We all have it. So meditation is really that's the foundation to well-being. It is so incredibly important. You guys take care.